My name is Johanna Meier and I'm a PhD student at Ruhr University Bochum in Germany, and I'm presenting to you a systematic review on defaults to reduce meat consumption. Global food systems contribute markedly to climate change and are responsible for a large share of greenhouse gas emissions, and the emissions caused vary significantly across different food products, with livestock products having particularly high impacts compared to other food sources. To initiate the necessary transformation towards less carbon-intensive food systems, policy needs to address both the supply and demand side. One particular form of demand-side policies are those that are informed by behavioral insights, that is, by a careful design of the decision environment. Behavioral interventions aim to subtly steer individuals to choose the preferable alternative. One of the most discussed behavioral intervention designs are so-called defaults, that is, a particular choice option is being preset. Defaults have been proven to be impactful in various decision-making contexts, for example in sustainable consumption. They have been found to be particularly promising to nudge more environmentally friendly consumer choices, for example, promoting the uptake of green energy. The objective of our systematic review is to synthesize the existing evidence to investigate whether defaults are potentially effective to reduce meat consumption, and if so, how they work and what potentially moderates their effect, and also how much greenhouse gas emissions can be saved by implementing defaults. To compile relevant evidence, we use the database of a systematic map that was conducted by the same author team and enlarged it by a literature update that was adapted to the topic of the review. We searched in 11 databases, a thesis repository, specialist websites, an additional academic journal, and a search engine. And the results were then screened for inclusion on title, abstract, and full text level, and in accordance to a set of predetermined inclusion and exclusion criteria. These we developed along the so-called PICO criteria that we extended by 2 additional elements, namely framing and study type. Then we extracted relevant descriptive information and statistical data from the full text of all studies that were included after the screening process. We then conducted a critical appraisal and evaluated the quality of each study by trying to identify all possible sources of bias in each study. We used an a priori developed critical appraisal sheet and assessed different categories. Each of these categories contained several questions that were designed to identify possible threats to study validity, and based on the given answers, each category's risk of bias was assessed, and taking into consideration the assessment of all categories, the overall study quality was evaluated. 9 articles fulfilled our search criteria, and of those we excluded 2 due to low study quality. The remaining 7 articles comprise 9 individual studies and 10 different default interventions. Turning to the results, overall we find that defaults can be very effective in reducing meat consumption. The upper figure illustrates the percentage change in meat consumption in each default intervention considered, and the figure below depicts the changes in related greenhouse gas emissions. Regarding additional effects, we find that consumers who stick with the vegetarian default do not compensate for their choice. That means they do not consume more of other products than they usually do. And also they remain satisfied having consumed less or even no meat. Moderators of the effect of the default are mainly gender and the frequency of visit. That is, men and regular customers deviate from the vegetarian default more often than women and non-regular customers. If you have any questions or comments on our work, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much for your attention and have a nice day.